The Hypnotic Hiker presents nature, the drug of choice. Hypnotic trips, if you will, virtual hiking experiences, mind trips that offer a shift in perspective. Basically, these are a series of guided journeys that take you back to your true self. In these episodes, you'll discover the true power of your unconscious mind and how to change old, outdated programs from birth that have kept you stuck. You'll enjoy some virtual hikes, some hypnosis, divine interventions. You'll learn walking meditations. By the way, I've been a clinical hypnotherapist since 2002. We'll explore the importance of staying connected or reconnecting to your wild child, to be in touch with our primitive minds, our instincts. We'll talk about how the modern world has tried to change us into cogs of a machine. I'll dive into mass hypnosis and the concept of transhumanism. We'll even explore regenerative ranching and agriculture. The most important discovery you'll have is how to lose your shadow self and how to love yourself again, standing on your own 2 feet and thinking from your heart mind and speaking with your true voice. I'm Valerie, the Hypnotic Hiker. So are you ready for a new relationship with nature and yourself? Come along with me. This is Valerie, the Hypnotic Hiker. Welcome to episode 16. I have Jeff Clardy with me today, and we're going to open with kind of one of those proverbial questions, why did the chicken cross the road? But this is really in more of a form of a joke. So Jeff, tell your most recent joke.
Okay, well, when the chicken crosses the road, what is it?
Poultry in motion.
Yes, exactly. I don't know if we butchered
Poetry
that or
in
not.
motion. Poetry in motion. So Jeff calls himself a Zen poet, and I saw him on Facebook posting poems about nature, and of course that caught my eye. So I asked him to come on, and he agreed. Right? And
yes,
he's
I did.
here.
Yes,
he's here with me. I can reach out and touch his arm. We're not over the phone, which is lovely to have you face to face. So thank you. You're going to be reading some poems, but I want to sort of start too by talking about how we can go to a place in nature, and it's so unlike any place we've ever been. It's certainly unlike these 4 walls, right? And we step out there and it takes our breath away, right? Those places just take our breath away, but it really takes our words away. Sometimes we can be in such a beautiful place in nature that it's difficult to describe it. Like, how do you describe Purple Mountain's majesty? That does a pretty good job, right?
Yeah,
but,
no, that's a good one there.
So I love how your poetry describes nature, because we all don't have an opportunity to get out in it. And so tell me how you started or just talk about your art.
No, that is a really good question, and Valerie, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
I'm looking forward to this with all my nervousness at hand, because I do prefer nature. There is absolutely something magical about being in nature. And I've learned over the years that it doesn't require me having to be out in the deep depths of forests or climbing up the side of a mountain or something super entrenched in nature to really get the whole essence of nature. Walking out of a business office building and there's trees. Instead of staring at the cars, instead of staring at the people wandering by, to look into the trees and to look and just feel that sense of peace that they have. And, if anything is meditation is a place of sitting still and just being and receiving. And that's what all plants and trees and mountains do their entire life. Mm. So there's something about the calm that exists in that.
Mm-hmm. And you just get to step into it.
Just to get to step into it. It's just about becoming aware of it and paying attention to it and seeing it. That it happens, listening to it, feeling the wind, hearing the sounds of birds or the leaves being rustled, seeing the tree themselves and the beauty of them. that just embraces us from within, and that tells me a lot about the human nature itself. It seems like that's the right thing for us, to be with nature, to be with this planet, to be, I take nothing but, I'm very happy, very content, feel good inside, like I've achieved something. If I'm, throwing food for birds or raccoons or possums or something that's around me, when I plant something in the ground and they're feeding it to grow, it seems like the right thing to do. Yeah. And it, doing the right thing is, I think what we're on this planet to do. But, I sit and look around and go, maybe my understanding of the right thing is not, not the same as others.
That's not the right thing.
That's not the right thing.
And so being in nature, like you were describing, and then your body's own nature, and then there's your true nature. And so this word nature and nurture, those are so closely compared. So since this is about words, this is about poetry and words, the word nature, do you have a definition on Webster's definition of nature?
I think nature is everything. I think it is everything. Even if we take nature, if we take a tree, if we take clay, if we do something like that and build it into something, everything that we've ever gotten in our entire lives has come from this planet. And we use these resources to do whatever it is that we're doing. So it is all nature. It's a very giving planet.
Had you heard about the regrowth of the Chernobyl area after that disaster?
No, I haven't.
There was an article maybe 10 years ago that I came across. I tried to find it and I can't find it. But they were talking about when humans go away, nature knows how to. And so there's wolves, there's birds, there's, all kinds of, animals. People won't go back there. But the animals are thriving. Plant life is thriving. There's not a rhino with a hippopotamus butt. Or a three-eyed wolf. I mean, they're...
Yeah, we found yet. No.
Anyway, so I just, I like how nature does know how to replenish itself. It knows how to be in its true nature. I moved out to a little place, and when I got there, it was like all Johnson grass. It's the Blackland Prairie area, and sunflowers. And so I told the land, as I heal you, I am healed. And I started practicing, just permaculture, is probably, I think my sister said it was actually a trademarked word, so we're not trying to say that. But I started using nature to heal nature. So, composting, grass clippings. I go around to my neighbors and ask them for their grass clippings, which they're all Hispanic, and I realized I was translating that incorrectly, and I was asking them for their clipped herbs. So I don't know whether. Anyway, I started doing that, and then I got chickens, and so now 4 or 5 years later, I have edibles growing on my property. Yeah, I have 3 or 4 variety of what most people consider weeds that are food for foraging. So that grew because I was nourishing, and then those plants actually nourish. So it's wonderful how just with a little getting it back to its own nature, there's some plants that are just, these seeds are just dormant, waiting for the right conditions and the right, pH balance or whatever to just spring forth. And that's, would you read from some of your poetry?
Let me find some. Oh, the morning's mystic lure, awaken radiance of a moment's cure. Embrace the soul with nature's gift. Unleash all worries and then let them drift. To the breaking sun's powerful touch opens the heart with an ancient trust. Into the day release no word that doesn't reflect the song of a bird.
So why do we close our eyes when someone's reading those kinds of words?
It's a good question. I would imagine to receive its essence, because it's somewhat tricky. I mean, poetry is coming from the person, when I'm writing a poem, I'm in a place. I am in that spot that I'm writing those. I'm basically painting a picture with words. So I'm capturing that now, that moment. And I'm doing it with words. We are not a creature of now. We're a creature of and. Mm-hmm. We continue. We're a constant continuum. Mm-hmm. Even though we can take a photo or we have a memory of a moment or write a moment down in words, we are not that. We are constantly moving. And to have something like that brings us into a place, because movement is encapsulated with also everything that we have from gratitude to fear. Mm-hmm. I'm grateful that I'm moving forward, but at the same time, I'm not too sure where I'm going. Mm-hmm. And there's that essence of, is this the right thing that I'm doing? And I think that that's, in a big way, why poems and photographs and things of that nature and memories they nurture, because they allow us to just be in that place of stillness. And you had mentioned, on my Facebook thing, it says Zen Poet Jeff Clardy, Zen Poet. Mm-hmm. And that, these poems came from a Zen practice that I started some 25 years ago in meditation. And because it's a kind of a bizarre story, but anybody that's had an infant, this is right when I had my very first child, a little baby. And
we love bizarre stories, so please tell it.
Going into it. Well, I'm sitting there with this brand new baby. I'm alone in the house, and he is crying and crying and crying, and I'm doing everything, patting the back, rocking, going, it's okay, it's okay, everything that you can do. Yeah. I need to find peace. I need to find how to be calm. Yeah. And, because I can't be upset with an infant. I can't be like freaked out upset. I mean, you can certainly be frustrated, but when you get like heated, that's when I was like, I've got to do something about that.
Okay. So you ordered a book.
I ordered a book on how to meditate. Like I said, I thought that this thing was going to be this just big, thick, deep, hard to understand book on
thousands of pages.
Yeah, something, And it was a real thin. I mean, maybe a 1/4 inch thick paperback, and the words were double spaced. It did everything it could to fit it in that small book. And it basically was saying, just to find a place to sit quietly, and follow the breath in and out. And when thoughts show up, go back to following the breath in and out, and just kind of keep that.
So really simple.
Very simple. Very simple. It's not difficult, but it's one of the hardest things you'll ever do. Yeah. It's because it's sitting quietly, letting the mind be still is difficult, because the minute a thought comes through, I personally tend to try to attach to it. And I think most do, is that, we're sitting there and you're trying to be peaceful, and you smell, someone baking cookies, and you're like, cookies. I like cookies. Wow, I sure am hungry. I wonder I've got to get this at the grocery store in order to get this. This is what we're having for dinner. What are we going to have the rest? Oh yeah, I'm meditating. Follow the breath. Follow the breath. So that capturing of a moment is what I'm doing with poetry, is recognizing a moment, trying to be in that moment, and hanging with that moment as I write it down in words. So that I don't know. It's like a snapshot of that moment.
Well, I know that from my training that when you're in that meditative state, you're in the theta, which is the unconscious, creative, connective space, and so that's where all the brilliant ideas come from. I had a scientist that used to come in to get into trance when she was stuck trying to figure out her formula. Get her into that space, and she'd work it out, and when she got the answer, she'd open her eyes and say, thank you, charge my card, gotta go. So it's hard for people to get, but we can get into that deep creative space where all the answers to everything that ever could ask reside. But I want to ask how you went from the little tiny book 20-something years ago with your baby son being born to then what was your journey into Zen, the Zen practice after that?
Okay, well, I went because it clicked, because something happened in the first few attempts of meditating that really caught my attention. What that was this, looking back, it was the subtleness of being aware of the moment that I'm in, and the peace that gives, and how it reverberates through the rest of the day too. Just sitting for 10, 15, 20 minutes in the morning or in the evening or whenever you can do it, does something. It really does. It's a lot like, when you drop a rock into the water and it makes that little splash and then these ripples occur. That dropping of that rock in the water is a lot like that sitting down to meditate. It's that point.
I've never thought of it in that way.
And as the peace occurs, it just continues to ripple out throughout the rest of the day, and it continues that. And when it hits something, it bounces off of that and continues rippling around that. So it's, we are of nature. We are nature. There's no difference in the sense that how we do anything is how we do everything. How nature does what it does, we do the exact same thing. And, in an example is that typically for us to progress, on a spiritual level, on a human level, or whatever level you want to look at it, we need to run into a wall.
Yeah, usually.
We need to, otherwise we're just running forward and all seems fine.
Yeah.
We hit that wall, we may have to hit it a few times before we finally go, man, I got to get around this wall. It's not going away. And then there's the awareness of, hey, wow, I learned a lot from that. Maybe I shouldn't run so fast blindly into things. I'll go a little slower, pay a little more attention so I don't get as hurt next time I do this. Nature is doing a lot of the same thing. For it to progress and grow, a tree has to grow big, beautiful, everything, dropping limbs, breaking, growing new stuff, and eventually dropping to the ground and just becoming the mulch for all the rest that was growing from underneath it and giving it its life. That we're no different. Yeah. We're no different. I think about it, I was like, we're not visitors to this planet. We're not, just guests, or we're not interfering. This planet, if anything, created us. We are a creation of this planet. And there's a lot of theists out there that might zap me with something for that, but it's, scientifically looking at it, it seems to be real. We came from this planet. So this planet really didn't make a mistake. It knew that what it was creating might just create some of that difficulty for it so that it can continue to grow, to progress.
So that my mind pops to the George Carlin bit about plastic. Have you ever heard that?
I love George Carlin, but I'm not thinking about that. I'm going to
put a link in the show notes to this.
To that one?
Basically, he's saying, what if the Earth created the plastic because it wants all the plastic?
Yes, exactly. Who's to say?
So I'll have to because it's hysterical. He's so funny, his perspective. So you went from reading a book to becoming...
into the Zen
and you
practice.
went to the Zen practice. So tell me about who your teacher was, where you practice.
Okay, yes. I looked at, obviously, dug again. Where is there Zen? Is there any Zen practices here in
Dallas?
Because I was able to find books by Dogen or the Blue Cliff Notes that were koan items that I was able to read about that and read and practice some of the Zen practice before I ran into the Zen Center here in Dallas, which is the Maria Kennan Zen Center.
Okay.
Ruben Habito is the Zen master there, the teacher there. And I went in there with the wanting and desire to understand koan practice a little more.
Could you spell that for us?
Koan. Koan.
Thank you.
And koans they sound like little stories, little antidotes that you your mind immediately wants to try to figure out. It wants to solve this. It's like a riddle, but it's not a riddle. It's designed to make our mind churn and think.
Good.
And there's a lot of times it's not necessarily the answers that it's after, it's more the journey. Mm-hmm. Like everything, the journey is the thing. That, getting to an answer, the most famous one is this koan mu. It's one used by many, many Zen Zeners out there as a teaching tool. And it's very simple. That Joshua is a Zen master from a while back, and one of his young students walks in and says, "Master, will this dog ever know Zen Buddha nature?" And the Zen master looks at him and goes, "Moo." Now, and that's kind of the end of the whole thing. But, having to learn and understand things. Moo in that context means no, will not, does not, something like that. It's like a no.
Okay.
And just Buddhism 101, everything is of Zen nature. So you got to ask yourself, well, why would this student ask this question? And why would a teacher respond to it like that? And that's all you need to know. And just play and churn and let that play with you. And the teacher will mess with you over and over again, asking you that stuff. And you're just like, well, maybe it has something to do with religion. Maybe it has something to do with ignorance. Maybe, finally, it's just tapping all these different places in you to think those directions, to understand eventually, Mu just is. Mm. It just is.
Mm-hmm. It is what it is. So who came up with that? It is what it is. Some kind of funny show, I think. Probably
it is what it is.
That reminds me, and I want you to read another poem, but it reminds me of Wayne Dyer was talking about when he was a student, the professor gave him an assignment of figuring out what the answer to this riddle was or whatever. So a man that's wearing cutoff shorts, a cutoff t-shirt, gets invited to this cocktail party where everyone's in, cocktail attire. He walks in. What does he do? And everyone's like, oh, well, he borrows a jacket, or he leaves because he's embarrassed. And, they find him something to wear. And the answer was, he doesn't notice.
He just doesn't notice.
Okay, read something else.
Let's read another one. Okay. Morning blossoms from the songs of a bird, letting go the thoughts so nothing is heard. Only that which forms this now, as stillness brings an unanswered how. It's here, my friends, the truth you seek, so silent your burden, so your soul can speak. You go, well, what does that mean, Jeff? Where are you going with that?
Did you say something like you could hear the orange blossom? Are you mixing up the senses? Like
morning blossoms from the song of a bird, letting go the thoughts, so nothing is heard.
Okay.
And the word nothing, you get these in these, sometimes I'll use the word now or nothing or empty. And these are terms used in kind of Zen. Nothing means that I'm no longer attached to anything. There's no attachment.
There's no thing.
There's no thing going on. I'm not sitting there thinking about my shopping list. I'm not thinking about what I've got to do the rest of the day. There's nothing heard. There's just what is. And this is if you've sat, and I know you have, sat there silently and it's quiet and it's like trees and stuff, and all of a sudden a bird does its thing. It sings over here in the side. Mm-hmm. And it brings your attention to that bird. And it takes me even deeper into the nature itself, recognizing I'm not alone. There's others right here with me right now. But at the same time, I'm alone with all of this. Yeah. So that piece that I run into when I'm sitting with nature, when I'm walking through nature, when I'm observing nature, is that it gives me peace. And I think that that's the main thing that every creature out there, everything wants to experience is peace.
And if that's the case, and I believe that it's very, very possible to find peace, why do you think so many people are afraid of nature?
Well, because I can organize my chaos. I can't organize that which is. It's already done. And so the lack of control. I don't have control.
Good point. Okay. I was hiking recently and got about 1.5 miles in. And I hike in a place it's not, it's just the core, it's equestrian trail. There's very few people on it. And I heard there's wild boars, there's deer out there. There's sometimes loose donkeys, loose cattle. So I heard this stomp and a snort. And I said, hello, because I thought maybe it was a horse, a rider. Nothing responded. Human didn't respond. So I just said, okay, I'm going to back up. I'm going to turn around and I'll try this again tomorrow. So my point on that was, not listening to music, you really have to pay attention to what's going on around you. That was a little unsettling, and I've hiked there for 5 years. I have seen the wild boars out there. But they're not waiting for us to come by to attack us. But you have to be cognizant of that. So, people hear those stories, and yes, I've seen snakes on the trail. But you go into nature as in your own nature. You're the wind, you're the water, you're the earth, you're the fire. You are all those elements. And so when we can relax into that, even if one of those wild boars were to meet up with me, if I'm in that nature of peace and I'm there from peace, it would probably just walk on by me.
More than likely.
Yeah.
More than likely.
Yeah. But I
Unless
never
you stomp
tested
onto its, like,
that.
around its babies or something like
Oh,
that.
yeah. Right. So
So
people are afraid of nature because, so my point on that was that you can't turn it off. I couldn't go,
Right.
I want game over. I want to pick a new game. I don't want to play this one anymore. There's a wild animal up there. Yeah, so you're right. They don't have control. And I think a lot of people, you probably agree, are taught to fear nature. Don't go outside.
Well, yeah.
Don't go outside.
You can.
There's spiders. Don't go outside.
Spiders, poison ivy, poison oak, mosquitoes.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of things. I mean, we've got a mosquito situation in Dallas for sure.
Yeah. But it's because of imbalance. If we brought some bats and the right kinds of birds back, if they had their habitat, we couldn't bring back, frogs. We've devastated those habitats. So the mosquitoes are just proliferating. Don't get me started.
Oh, I know. I live over there. I live over next to White Rock Lake.
Okay,
really close to it, and it's definitely an ecosystem going on over there. Yeah. My concern is that the raccoons are getting to be a huge number.
Are they?
And
so what's their predator? Bobcat?
Coyotes, bobcats, and I've got my own personal house cats that go out and wander around outside. Yeah. And they're not going to discern between a raccoon or a cat or something like that. If they come in to prey, they're going to do that. Then I've got to go. That's life. Mm-hmm. I leaving, forcing my cat to stay inside would just he would rip a hole through the screen and get out. I mean, I'm not going to be.
That's right.
So it is what it is. But the same thing with walking through nature. Yeah. Like you said, we're in it.
And I think poison ivy creates a natural boundary. Like nature's saying, you stay there. Don't come over here.
Yeah.
So I kind of like poison ivy because it keeps us from wandering off the trail. It keeps us from stomping and right. So the trail, it helps you to follow a path.
Sometimes, Valerie, it's hard to stay on that trail. I tend to like to drift.
Yeah,
but I know what it looks like. So it doesn't seem to mess with me too much.
So I'd like you to read another one.
Okay. Evening unfolds as the day lets go to cicada's pulse in nature's hold. A bunny stares at a passerby. A connection is made as they catch each other's eye. A chorus of birds singing to the wind as the moment embraces this place of Zen.
That was one of the ones I read recently that I was hoping you would pick for today, so thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
So where's the most majestic place that you've been that took your breath away and maybe even had you at a loss for words? Is there
Yes,
a place like that?
Tough one to have me at a loss for words, but I love Colorado. My mom lives up in Steamboat, and going up there and wandering around through that, it's the power of that nature, the strength of it. It's very bold. The water is moving faster than what we're used to down here. The trees seem stronger. The air seems more pure. Mm-hmm. It's a stronger essence of it.
I love that. I've never thought of that, describing it that way. It is bolder and stronger.
For sure. Well, they call it Boulder, Colorado.
Ah. I was going to say let's end with a joke, but we already did.
Let's do it. Okay.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share?
No, I mean, I could go on and on forever and ever, but I won't do that. I'd really appreciate this opportunity to sit and talk about it. It absolutely inspires me to dig deeper into me and to learn more about me. I honestly believe that the more we learn about ourselves and our nature and how we do what we do, the happier we're going to be. It's learning to love yourself, I think, in the essence. And if I can love myself to that level of just accepting me for me, I'm a little fat here, and I'm a little, wrinkly here, whatever it is, that just go, hey man, that's just Jeff doing Jeff things.
Yeah.
And to find that level of love. When I love myself, I'm no longer lonely. I'm no longer scared. I'm content with you. And I'm capable of truly loving you back. And that's, through doing the practices that we need to do to get us into a place where we can receive.
Thank you. I will post several of your poems on the show notes and connect to the Zen Center. And then if you can just send me whatever other things you want me to connect to as a resource for listeners to also start their journey with Zen meditation, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank
you. Thank you, Jeff. By Simply Organic Soap, maker of plant-based organic soaps, lotion bars, salts, and other bath products infused with essential oils to care for your skin and keep you connected with nature. Take a bath on the wild side with the Simply Hypnotic Soap, inspired by me, the Hypnotic Hiker. You can order this soap and all their other products online at simplyorganicsoap.com and follow them on Instagram and Facebook to stay up to date with their latest products. By the way, those products are made in Texas. I'm free.